Hey everyone, this is Evgeny and you're watching another episode in LangGraph Introduction series. Today we're going to check a bit better reasoning in multi-agent system and we're going to use Supervisor Architecture for that. And also I will show you how you can access your short-term memory from tooling. So join me and let's take a look at that together. Okay, we look into better task reasoning or maybe providing better task description, and for demonstrating you the problem, let me first compile a graph. And this is pretty printing messages we're going to use today. Then I'm going to compile the whole graph from the previous sessions, and this contains a lot of tools. We do have a research agent. I'm not gonna tell you more about that. It's pretty standard React style of graph we created previously, and the same we have for portfolio graph and the supervisor as well. And before starting, let's investigate into something. So I'm just asking to invest in the next several companies, Apple, Tesla, and Nvidia, and I have 1,000 per each. So let's run it. And it's there. I don't care much about details. So what we can do, we can check the current state of our ledger from the long-term memory we introduced previously. And I do have several records. Now, some stuff was I invested some money into some companies and it's there. Now let's try to run another query. I'm asking, show me how my investments are performing, what do I have, and maybe gain-loss report I would need. And I'm asking the same supervisor agent. The agent has everything, including the access to my ledger. And we can check what would be the reply of that. Look at that, what was happening here. The first came my request, how my investments are performing. The supervisor decided to get order history to fetch all the data, and it has it here. And then, since I was asking for the real actual data, supervisor decided that there is a good idea to fetch the latest prices. So supervisor made a call to portfolio, because portfolio in the system knows how to fetch the financial data in real life. And what's happening next is really interesting. Take a look at that. Portfolio reported, I'm unable to provide details about your investment performance or the stocks you own. And then it sent the control back to supervisor. It enumerated all the current stocks I have in my ledger and then made another call to portfolio. And this time portfolio kind of got the idea that the real data is needed, and it made the lookup stock symbols for Tesla, for Nvidia and Apple, and got some data back here. We can see it. And after that, it was possible to calculate gain-loss reports. So this is what happened under the hood here. And the problem, you can see it already immediately. It was that it was a not clear situation when the control was passed from the supervisor to portfolio. Portfolio replied that I have no idea what you want from me, right? What kind of task do you want me to perform? And this is the situation we're gonna check and try to improve today a bit. So what's the problem here? The problem that we are using the tool calls for transferring control between the agents, and there is no information during the transfer what kind of task the supervisor expecting the other sub-agent to perform. It's kind of hard task, right? It's a very tricky thing. The agent should be aware. Well, okay, the agent gets the whole access to the previous messages, but it's not clear what exactly portfolio wants to perform. And how we can fix that? If you take a look at that, we have tool calls, I mentioned that already, for providing the control from one agent to another. Basically, these tools, they call handoff tools, and they were generated automatically when we created our supervisor. But what we can do, we can try to enrich this tool calling with some additional information like reasoning or maybe task description from portfolio to provide the agent, the portfolio agent, more information about what exactly task is expected to perform. And that's something we are going to change right now. Just for our experimentations, let's define a schema, and this is a task state based on the agent state, the default one, I introduce here task instructions string field, which would contain the additional information about the task that needs to be performed. And here we are trying to create our own custom handoff tools. So what's happening here? We're kind of replicating the same technique that the LangGraph provides already. Like if you check the documentation, you can find that there are create task, I think the name is create handoff tool functions here already, and we are trying to replicate the same approach. So what do we have here? We're defining tool, handoff to agent. Here we're defining a new parameter, task instructions. This parameter will be visible for the LM for supervisor, and we are annotating this parameter with the description, so it's clear for the model what exactly information should be put there. And we are asking to provide the details of the task. Then we have state, and this is a dictionary annotated with injected state, and this is something which is coming from LangGraph, and this is the technique how you can get the state inside your tool. Also, we would need a tool call ID, and there's another annotated inject tool call ID thing from LangGraph. So having these parameters provided to hand off to agent function, we are creating, first of all, we have to create the response to our tool call message. And here we are saying, okay, control was successfully transferred to the new agent, and then please, here's the instructions to follow, and then we are providing the reasoning, the definition of task instructions that the supervisor would generate for us. And another important thing, since this is a response to AI message, we need to provide the same tool call ID. So finally the LM has a pair, the request for tool message and the reply from tool message. And this is the technique how you can pass the control to other agents. So first of all, we get the messages from the state. We are defining to go to the agent name that was provided to us. We are defining the scope, and this is common parent, which means we operate on a parent level. And at the same time, we can provide updating message for updating our current state. So what we are doing here, we are adding a new tool message to the list of messages. And at the same time, we are updating task instruction with this task instruction that we got from the supervisor. And basically, if you think about that, well, task instructions maybe is not so necessary here, because if we check the log of messages here, we can see the tool messages as well. Like, for example, let's take this one as an example, like transfer to portfolio. The AI message and the response from tooling was successfully transferred to portfolio. So the messages will be part of the message thread already. So practically, we don't need to pass any additional values. I'm just showing you the way, for example, if you have some specific attributes, how you can modify and get them in the tooling. So you have the messages, and it was injected by LangGraph. It came from the function parameters, this inject state. So you can get any value from there, and also you can update any value in a state here, right? And finally, we are returning the handoff tool that we created, the custom one. So having this handoff, we need to fine-tune our agent right now. So what do we have here? We have the same research agent. Let me just recompile it. So we have the state, the latest one. And then we have to define the new rules for handing over in supervisor. And we're doing this in a very pretty and simple way. We just define new tools in the tools section. So we're creating task instruction handoff tool for the agent portfolio, and we are creating task instructions handoff tool for agent research. And that's it. Once we are providing handoff tools from the parent supervisor to a sub-agent, it will automatically replace the one that create supervisor creates under the hood. And basically that's it. Let me compile it. We have the same graph. It doesn't, there is no difference from the past, right? And this time let's try and run the same testing. So the same kind of question, show me how my investments are performing, what stocks do I own, and are they making or losing money? So this gain loss report I'm asking for. I'm running it, and here we are. Let's check if we have any differences from the previous log. So we have a get order history as the same as previously. We get back some data, and this time, okay, supervisor decided to run current timestamp. I don't know for what reason, probably because we need the current prices, and supervisor decided, okay, I need to know what is now moment. And look at that, we do have a tool call, transfer to portfolio, and at this time the X is filled with task instruction. And set retrieved current market prices for the following stocks: Apple, Tesla, Nvidia, and calculate the current total value for each stock owned compared to the purchase price and determine if making or losing money. And it was transferred to the portfolio, and this is the tool message that we generated. You can see that successfully transferred to portfolio. And here are the instructions to follow, and this is information for our portfolio. And look at that, portfolio this time didn't complain on unknown instructions or something. It immediately started to act, right? So it was a tool calls for Apple, Tesla, and Nvidia and get back some stock data and provided the real report. So immediately. And this is the way how you can provide making money. Oh, I'm making money in some sense, right? But this is the idea, basically. I think this is a really big drawback in passing the control between agents, because you don't know, like, for example, you have a supervisor and supervisor knows something about your agent, and maybe there is a mismatch between the information that supervisor knows about the agent and what agent can do really. And using this technique, we can provide additional kind of reasoning and provide the expectation from the supervisor to the agent. And again, let me just quickly recap what we did so far. We created our own handoff tool. And this tool here, I demonstrated you how you can get the current state or schema, short-term memory in the tool, how you can update it with the update command here. And basically, this is the way how you can provide the additional instructions and make the work of your sub-agent much, much easier. And traditionally, if you want to know more, I'm providing here reference links to different articles and documentation parts where all the related things are discussed and documented. Alright, this is the end of this video. I thank you for sticking with me till the end. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, please leave them below and I will reply you as soon as possible. And it was me, Evgeny. Thanks a lot again and see you next time in the next video. Thank you. Take care and bye-bye.